You, Ivan interrupted, baring his teeth, but don't you understand that the professor has to be caught? And you come at me with your foolishness. Cretin? Pardon me, comrade homeless. The face replied, blushing, retreating, and already repentant at having got mixed up in this affair. No, anyone else, but you I will not pardon, Ivan Nikolaevich said with quiet hatred. A spasm distorted his face, he quickly shifted the candle from his right hand to his left, swung roundly and hit the compassionate face on the ear. Here it occurred to them to fall upon Ivan, and so they did. The candle went out, and the glasses that had fallen from the face were instantly trampled. Ivan let out a terrible war cry, heard, to the temptation of all, even on the boulevard, and set about defending himself. Dishes fell clattering from the tables, women screamed. All the while the waiters were tying up the poet with napkins, a conversation was going on in the coachroom between the commander of the brig and the doorman. Didn't you see he was in his underpants? The pirate inquired coldly. But, Archibald Archibaldovich, the doorman replied, cowering, how could I not let him in, if he's a member of Masalit? Didn't you see he was in his underpants? The pirate repeated. Pardon me, Archibald Archibaldovich, the doorman said, turning purple, but what could I do? I understand, there are ladies sitting on the veranda. Ladies have nothing to do with it, it makes no difference to the ladies, the pirate replied, literally burning the doorman up with his eyes, but it does to the police. A man in his underwear can walk the streets of Moscow only in this one case, that he's accompanied by the police, and only to one place, the police station. And you, if you're a doorman, ought to know that on seeing such a man, you must, without a moment's delay, start blowing your whistle. Do you hear? Do you hear what's going on the veranda? Here the half-crazed doorman heard some sort of hooting coming from the veranda, the smashing of dishes and women's screams. Now, what's to be done with you for that? The freebooter asked. The skin on the doorman's face acquired a typhoid tinge, his eyes went dead. It seemed to him that the black hair, now combed and parted, was covered with flaming silk. The shirt front and tailcoat disappeared and a pistol butt emerged, tucked into a leather belt. The doorman pictured himself hanging from the foretopsail yard. His eyes saw his own tongue sticking out and his lifeless head lolling on his shoulder, and even heard the splash of waves against the hull. The doorman's knees gave way. But here the freebooter took pity on him and extinguished his sharp gaze. "Watch out, Nikolai, this is the last time. We have no need of such doormen in the restaurant. Go find yourself a job as a beadle." Having said this, the commander commanded precisely, clearly, rapidly, "Get Panteley from the snack bar." Police. Protocol. A car. To the psychiatric clinic. And added, "Blow your whistle." In a quarter of an hour an extremely astounded public, not only in the restaurant but on the boulevard itself and in the windows of houses looking onto the restaurant garden, saw Panteley, the doorman, a policeman, a waiter and the poet Ryukin carry through the gates of Gribodov's a young man swaddled like a doll, dissolved in tears, who spat, aiming precisely at Ryukin, and shouted for all the boulevard to hear. "You bastard! You bastard!" A truck driver with a spiteful face was starting his motor. Next to him a coachman, rousing his horse, slapping it on the croup with violet reins, shouted. "Have a run for your money. I've taken him to the psychics before." Around them the crowd buzzed, discussing the unprecedented event. In short, there was a nasty, vile, tempting, swinish scandal, which ended only when the truck carried away from the gates of Gribodov's the unfortunate Ivan Nikolaevich, the policeman, Panteley and Ryukin. Chapter 6. Schizophrenia, as was said. It was 1:30 in the morning when a man with a pointed beard and wearing a white coat came out to the examining room of the famous psychiatric clinic, built recently on the outskirts of Moscow by the bank of the river. Three orderlies had their eyes fastened on Ivan Nikolaevich, who was sitting on a couch. The extremely agitated poet Ryukin was also there. The napkins with which Ivan Nikolaevich had been bed up lay in a pile on the same couch. Ivan Nikolaevich's arms and legs were free. Seeing the entering man, Ryukin turned pale, coughed, and said timidly, "Hello, doctor." The doctor bowed to Ryukin but, as he bowed, looked not at him but at Ivan Nikolaevich. The latter sat perfectly motionless, with an angry face and knitted brows, and did not even stir at the doctor's entrance. Here, doctor, Ryakin began speaking, for some reason, in a mysterious whisper, glancing timorously at Ivan Nikolaevich. Is the renowned poet Ivan homeless? Well, you see, we're afraid it might be delirium tremens. Was he drinking hard? The doctor said through his teeth. No, he drank, but not really so. Did he chase after cockroaches, rats, little devils, or slinking dogs? No, Ryakin replied with a shudder. I saw him yesterday and this morning he was perfectly well. And why is he in his drawers? Did you get him out of bed?